It's a lot of fun. It can be profitable too. Um, it can be something that you can do, entertain your friends and family. Uh, you can do it at family events, or or you can even do it like I'm doing it by Zoom. You can do your own Zoom cartooning show, your caricaturing show, and caricature people. That's might be something down the road. But anyway, today we'll talk about it. Now, caricaturing is a really amazing art because it deals with not only capturing uh, the what this what what distinct is makes someone distinct, I guess, in their looks, and it can also be the real beauty of caricaturing is that you exaggerate the features and you can make it a drawing that's humorous and very fun for the person that you're doing the caricature of, or it can be insulting too, depending on what you do. I guess a lot of political cartoonists out there do it the other way, where they're making a point and they're making fun of the politician or the public figure, what have you. So there's many applications for it. Yeah, just to talk a bit more about the theory of it, it's basically doing some of the shapes that we've been talking about in the past. And I don't know if the camera can see me, but I'm going to turn my camera on my laptop over to my tablet here, and we'll show you some shapes here. The top one is a circle. So this, I was actually just kind of warming up before we started the Zoom meeting today. So I'll do a few different shapes, and some of these shapes will, can come up in your caricaturing work because of the shape of people's faces and their eyes, or their features. They might have eyes like this. They might have eyes more like this. So it's good to kind of just kind of practice it out too. To you never know what kind of features you might be dealing with, so it helps to just kind of get a little start like this. Shape of the ears, that's always something that can be, it's different on just about every person. So yeah, it just basically what I'm trying to get across is that this isn't anybody in specific, but the things I'm doing here, just doodling, are basically mimicking what you would come upon in a caricaturing situation. So most people's heads are the oval shape, as I'm drawing now, and it can be taller or more narrow in the sides, and a lot of people's head shapes are the triangle shape here that I've shown just above that, and that's a very common head shape as well, and another one would be the where it's heavier on lighter on the top and heavier on the bottom, and that and when you're doing children too, it's a different type altogether. It's usually the you increase the forehead size, and the eyes would come a little under halfway below the head. So, and you might have bigger eyes, and you can also play with the cheeks a bit too. If they have rounded cheeks, you can play with that too. And so drawing children, it can be quite different than drawing adults, but it's something that that you can certainly play with. Let's do a couple of caricatures here, and I've chosen for my first subject myself, and this is a picture of me from a couple of years ago, and I can just add another layer here. So just looking at the figure as I'm seeing it here, I'm seeing let's just lighten up this tool, maybe do a white tool to show the shape of my head. So I would consider my head more like the triangular shape here in a modified form. So it would be something like this. And the eye line would be here. I'm just kind of breaking it down. Like this is not going to be the caricature. I'm actually going to do a caricature, but just kind of breaking it down for myself to see see the shapes and how I would place it on the page and on the final drawing. And when you're caricaturing, you quite often don't have an opportunity to do this. But if you have an iPad, this is good practice to just get a photograph and kind of doodle over top of it and give yourself a chance to see the shape of the face and the way the features are. This is actually very helpful. I'm seeing a lot of things that I can do here. So I kind of got a good idea of how I'd like to put that together. So I'm going to just expand my page here and start caricaturing. I may as well do let's see, I'll just do a ink line here. Go to the inking tool. And I really like the tinderbox. That's a pretty good inking tool. I'm going to change to the black line. And so based on what I've done there, I'm going to try to do a caricature here. So I'm going to try to get that. Let's just increase our pen width a bit here. Try to get the hair. I'm just going to increase it a bit more just because I think it should be a little stronger here. Get the head shape in here. And you generally, if you're doing caricatures, they generally can take from 5 to 10 minutes. I try to, I've had some sessions which were had a lot of people at them, and it took me quite a while to do them. So I ended up probably taking several hours to do it. But I learned that I had to be a little quicker the first few times, and then I had to learn how to shorten up my time here. So what I did basically was kind of try to see see where I would have my sketch lines before I even drew them, and that really helped a lot. So let's cheat on that. Where the eye would go. And I'll just the ears a bit here, and then the cheeks going down into the face. So I'm not showing it with the lines, but I am kind of drawing with it in my head where the eye line is across the below the eyes here. I'll maybe just do a dotted line to kind of indicate where that would be, and the dividing center line on the face would be approximately in this area, and then and it's a for a quickie caricature, it's not too bad. You can I'll just change my pen color here to red if I can, and let's see if I can do that. Let's change it to like a pink here, and then there we go. So I'll just show you the basic shapes I have put in the drawing here. I have the main overall shape. Let's just increase that pen tool a bit there. Show where that is. So that's here. So I've got the overall basic shape. and the eye line is right here, just whoops, right below the eyes. Let's undo that. Just below the eyes, and then you have the center line. So it all kind of comes together like a map, a road map, basically. And the ears, my ears aren't too, but I do have bigger lobes, so I do make it bigger there. So uh, so that's a good 5 minute caricature. And then quite often let's go back to the black tool here. I quite often add a neck and a shirt line here and my signature and maybe something that I like. So maybe my iPad behind me. So because I really like to draw cartoons on my iPad. So just behind me here and just waiting for me to work with it. So that's a good 5 minute caricature. And you of course can spend more time on it doing other things to the drawing and making it really detailed. Let's have a look at let's see. I have actually done something earlier that was I'll just take off that sketch. And this was one I had done earlier where I had shown all the sketch lines and had taken a bit more time. And, frankly, I do I do like the other one better than this one. As it turns out, I do like the previous one here. Yeah, I think I like that one better. Anyway, just goes to show you it's a trial and error thing. Let's take a look at another one. I was talking earlier about doing political figures. And this is a political figure that we're all quite familiar with, Doug Ford. I was just going to, let's see if we can take that off here. Yeah, I was going to do Doug Ford. This was basically the way I'd seen him. He's got okay, let's just go zoom in on his face here. Now, the way I saw his face was as a, let's add a new layer first of all. And I'll just make this the white tool again so we can see, sort of get the basic shape of his face. And it's very much like a almost squarish. It's almost as heavy on the bottom as it is on the top. And it's very, very, I don't know how to describe it, but it's very boxish. And it's a real challenge, I think. But it's very interesting face he has. And not a really big nose, but a fairly prominent nose. And yeah, I would say there's not many people who the lower side of their face is as heavy as the top side, but Mr. Ford is one that I could easily point to as being one of those. His eyes are very, well, I guess they're very simple. They're not. I wouldn't spend a whole lot of time on his eyes because they're very simple. His nose is kind of not really big, but fairly prominent. And his mouth is basically just opening on his lower part of his face there. And this is something I had done earlier of him. And I think it pretty much captures the basic look of him. And we're going to just add another layer to this. This is, if you're doing a caricature for a political cartoon, you want it to be pretty much dead on because people are going to be seeing it in publication, and they're going to want to, you want them to know who it is. So you want to spend a bit of time getting some details correct there. So I'm going to use this as a template to try to, and we with the iPad, we have the beauty of being able to do that. So we'll go to our black tool here, our black pen tool, and we'll start to work on it and keep this little sketch of him here so we can kind of refer to it. So as I said, his eyes aren't really prominent. The one striking thing about his eyes is that they're fairly small. So we're going to just draw his openings of his eyes fairly small, and there's maybe an eyelid over top of that. And As I said, his nose isn't terribly prominent. His eyebrows aren't terribly prominent either. Just kind of maybe a small indicator of his eyebrows. And his ears. Oops, I just didn't want to do that. His ears are fairly close to his head, so they're fairly easy to draw like that. And they're not that prominent either. The real prominent feature of his face is the shape, the very almost boxish shape of the face. And when you discover that as a cartoonist, you can, time after time, when you do these things, especially if you're doing editorials regular basis, you can really you build on this and create something quite interesting. I know it's something I used to try to do when I used to attempt editorial cartoons at one time, and was had mixed success. But I was pretty happy with my caricaturing of the political people of the time. Some of them weren't really good, but at least the audience could tell who it was. And I remember one I did of Pierre Trudeau when I was working as a security guard in Calgary. I freelanced for the Calgary Gauntlet, the Calgary University of Calgary Gauntlet campus newspaper, doing their editorial cartoons, because it was a kind of an in for me to get do an editorial drawing for a publication. And they seemed to really like my work. But when I did one of Pierre Trudeau, it was not well liked by a lot of people, and it was because I had really made fun of his, I guess, his toothy smile, which was really created for me in my mind by an artist named Duncan McPherson, who had done this quite regularly, and it just seemed to capture something about Pierre Trudeau. But I remember when I tried it, it wasn't met with the same the same enjoyment or appreciation by newspaper readers. So let's add some features of the hair here. Got the hairline here where that previous layer was, and we'll just kind of follow that through. And hairline here. And as you're doing this, you can what I like to do quite often is to just take that other layer off and just kind of see where I'm at with the drawing. It's pretty close. It could be. Yeah, it could be pretty good there. That's do a few things with his eyebrows if we want to, and around the nose. And add little features like the hair and whatnot. I think we've done a pretty good job of capturing him, but again, it's good to have that other photo referring to it, and with the iPad, it makes it so much easier to do this. We can start adding features now, and like the jacket and the tie. The tie is pretty much right here. There you go. Mr. Doug Ford. And of course, you can do things like fill in the details here. I'm just going to increase my brush strength here and heavier line and fill in this jacket line here. You find sometimes you get you learn little things you can do that can become very stylistic things, like what I'm doing here with the suit. It actually looks pretty neat with the almost layering there. It gives it kind of a nice look. One of my favorite cartoonists, Andy Donato, used to have these looks of layering. I really don't know how he did it, but it was probably from experimenting with his artboard, much like I'm doing with the iPad, and kind of creating these things here. And there we go. And that's so that's an attempt at Doug Ford. And you can of course add color, add another layer here, add color here if you wanted to, and just move that layer below the dark line. See if we can do it. We could probably do it fairly quickly too. Let's see how much time have we got. We're doing pretty good for time, I think. Let's see here. Yeah, it was about 25 after. So let's add a little bit of color here. I think that would be a lot of fun. This is adding a layer just below the black line here, and we'll come up with some tones here. Let's do his facial tones first. Let's see if we can get the look for a color palette here that has something similar, and then we'll just modify it a bit. Okay, that's pretty close, but I think we can just adjust it a bit. Well, for this one, I think we'll use the wheel. I think this is handier for, I found with for the flesh tones anyway. Let's see here. Yeah, that's a pretty good start for the flesh tones here. So we're going to start using the start filling it in. Okay, well, let's not do that. Let's try something else here. I think we use another tool than that because doesn't seem to be getting the coverage we want here. So I'm going to let us try the airbrushing tool. Let's see what we get here. We can do a fairly good coverage here. That's a fairly wide brush that we're getting here to get the coverage. Yeah, and you could maybe do this too if you're doing on the spot caricatures too. Quite often we do like a caricature session where you have a bit of time and you know people are paying a bit more for the caricature, so you can spend a bit more time on them. But for the 5-10 minute on the spot caricatures where you're making maybe $5-10 on the caricature, it's often better to just make it. Now we're using your eraser tool. Just keep it fairly simple. Just do the very basic caricatures, and as I said before, you sometimes get your better results that way too, and that's always quite satisfying. Let's get a little bit of colorizing here. And again, we're using the light source, like the light obviously coming from above, and we're getting similar to the main sketch there that we had, keeping the light consistent with that. We'll just darken it a bit here for some of the features of the face. Just increase that tool a bit. Yeah, again, using the the above picture, the photograph of him as a reference, and so that's how simple this could be. And basically, I should let you know too how I got that photograph. It was on Google Photos. I basically just copied the image and pasted it into the our file here, the my caricature file that I'm working on today. So it was a pretty simple process to do that. And it's always handy to just have it right in front of you. Previous to this, I would get like a photo of a subject and have it just to the side, laying to the side, so I could work with it and just work from there. But this seems to be so much handier to do it this way. Makes you think when you're doing this quite a bit. Why didn't I think of that sooner? But of course, you have to go through it a few times to see what the quicker, better techniques are. So certainly, my advice would be to keep practicing and keep working with it. So that's kind of a basic Doug Ford caricature, and you can add your signature then, and why don't we do that? I'm just going to add my signature to this and reduce that and bring my tool to be the inking tool, and I like to use the tinderbox. Seems to work well for me. And I'll just put my Jeff Wilson here. Oops, I'll just decrease that tool a bit there. It was pretty thick there, so. There we go, and that's that one. So we've done a couple. We've done a male and a political caricature, and so let's do something else now. Let's take it to this was a girl whose face I found on the internet the other day, and let's just take Doug Ford out of here. And this was basically I found her on Google Photos, and I don't know who she is. It was just a random girl I found, but I thought she had very interesting features, and I thought she'd be very interesting to caricature. She's got an interesting facial shape, eyes which stand out, which is always important in caricaturing. Always make sure your eyes are accurate, the eyes that you're working on. And I had to work on her. Now with the female shape, I found that it's quite consistently the oval or the heavy on top, almost triangular shape on the bottom. And let's just try that out here. Okay. I know what I need to do is to add a layer to this. That's what I'm not doing here. We go. Let's try that. Let's put it into that folder. And so in white, I'm just going to trace the features here of this figure. And this is what I saw the shape being kind of, yeah. But she has a very interesting shape because it's kind of chiseled on the bottom. So it seemed to be a real challenge for a caricaturist to do. But her eyes are outstanding. They just really stand right out, and very subtle nose and very small mouth. And so that's kind of breaks it down for me a bit here to do. And I think how are we doing for time here? I guess we're getting on in time, so I will basically just show you what I had done here with this figure here. So I had broken it down this way in my main drawing, and you'll notice that it's pretty much the way I had broken it down over the face in the previous drawing. Her eyes are in this area here, and the nose here, and we can add another layer here. Let's see. I'll just go back to the black drawing tool, to the ink tool, and layer here. New layer. There we go. So let's work with this one with the black line. Trying to find the eyes shape. Very eyelash there. And her nose was very distinct too, so we'll just try to find the shape of the nose here. And the nostrils were very... Let's see, let's redo that. That wasn't very good. Yeah, you can tell that I the on the spots have always been a challenge for me, but it's something you should try. I would say if you want to do caricaturing, that's the best way to learn is to just do over and over again at a caricaturing session and work it out that way. It really and truly is the best the way you will learn the most for doing it. And then her lips very pursed, but a fairly heavy lower lip, which is very interesting. And her ears were very interesting shape too. They kind of, let's just increase that tool a bit there. Very interesting shape. They kind of came out in the center more than they did on the. Let's just extend that a bit more, and fairly close to the head as well. But they came out in the center part, and then lower at the lobe, and went in more at the lobe. So. And the big blue pupils here too, which was very prominent. And because we're doing it on an iPad, we have the luxury of kind of playing with the eyebrows a bit, or the replacement of them. And I'll just erase what I have here. And you have just basically the look of that face there. And I think I had done one earlier here that I'd like to show you actually. That I thought was pretty good. It fairly captured the face and the eyes. I think it makes her eyes look a little more menacing, but she is kind of an a non-descriptive stare. It's more like a Mona Lisa look, I guess you'd call it, which is intriguing to artists, especially. Like, what is she thinking? But in this one, it kind of looks like I've already decided she knows what she's thinking. That's my thought of what she's thinking. So that's the female caricature, and let's see. I think we're coming up to about 22, so I might just talk a bit about the lighting here on this face here, and just do another layer, which I think it's something that I think would be fun to play with on this one. We'll just play for it as long as we can while we're doing this. But the lighting of the face, so the way they have the let's try the airbrushing tool, and we'll just do some fill in the face here, increase that a bit. Yeah, the photograph has a very interesting lighting style that I love to try to capture in any kind of drawing. And I'm going to just try to quickly get a start at it and try to get the lighting of this photo. So it's a little darker, you'll note on this side here. So I'm just going to darken up the tool here on this side and along this edge of the face, which is it appears to be doing in the photo as well. And then just on the lower part of the face here and below the eyes and below the eyes here. And then it's got this, I don't know if you notice here on the face, there's a bit of a white highlight there. I'm going to try to duplicate that as well on my drawing. And just give it a bit of edge here. I'll maybe use the inking tool for this and try to give it, because it looks very, very nice edge there. So it's in around here and comes around the eye here as well. And then on this side as well, I think on the other side, it's very, very noticeable too, where it does the same thing. And we'll just go back to the to that darker color that we had here, and just using go back to the airbrushing tool, and we're just going to quickly do similar to what we did there, except just along the edge there. Kind of gives it a bit of a striking contrast there. And on the nose as well. So it gives it a bit of depth and a bit of, a sense of the light as well. And it's, it just something you can do when you have the time to play with it on an iPad and give it these extra touches. So it's a lot of fun. I had just doing this, and I hope you did the same. And you could, once you get to this point, you can see all kinds of possibilities where you could take the drawing. You've got a good base there. I think anybody that I know that does this, like I've done it myself, but it's a real challenge. It's one of those jobs where it can be fun for the first 10 minutes, but it can be a grind after 6 hours of doing it. And I know some artists who are amazingly talented that have done that, have had caricature booths and have sat, every weekend for 6 hours a day. And it's very tiring work. So make sure if you're doing it for that reason that you really love it, because it can become a grind quickly. And but if you really like to do it, it's a great pastime. It's a great hobby to do what I've just done here. If you're just at home and you just are looking for something to do and you want to do a caricature, it's really quick to just copy a photo off of the internet and paste it into your as a layer on your iPad, or sorry, on your Procreate file here. And Procreate's a great program. I highly recommend it, and good price, and a lot of fun to work with. And just paste it in there, and you can come up with a drawing for it. And yeah, it's just something, even as a hobby, it could be the most fun you'll ever have. So yeah, it's something that I know you'll have fun with. But I hope it's whatever. Take whatever you can from this and apply it whatever way it helps you best. And thank you so much.
And once again, just want to thank all of our sponsors in this. So we have the Canada Council for the Arts, the Blue Mountains Public Library, Collingwood Public Library, and the Wasaga Beach Public Library. And yeah, so thanks for joining us. This was the Digital Drawing, Cartoon People, and Caricatures with Jeff Wilson. And we hope to see you again soon. And again, you can rewatch this on Crowdcast and explore some of the caricatures on your own as well. So that's it. Have a great day, and we'll see you guys soon.